Good afternoon YouTube, this is Nexus here on Teamwataponuk UK. Today we shall be discussing two cards, one that is slightly overlooked, recommended and brought to my attention by Dear Silent Enigma, and the other one recommended by Dark Magician 84 himself, who is currently joining me in this call.
Hello.
And Darkness L 1989 to add a bit more of a comprehensive look on more competitive tournament play, because he has been to all sorts of big competitions ranging from small locals to the likes of Upminster and all things like that.
What up?
What up? So, Leeching the Light. A lot of people use this card against agents, also against other rogue decks, especially when we had the Angel Flores Gemini hero beat going around. People started using Leeching the Light against that, because obviously it revolved around Neosalius. But what Leeching the Light reads as is you can select one face-up light monster your opponent controls. All face-up attack section monsters you control gain attack equal to the attack of the selected monster until the end phase. Now basically you see their Hyperion, you see their BLS, and you just take its attack points and add it to all your own monsters. The effect does target, and it is only until the end phase. So it's enough to give you a bit of a push to try and strive for game, but it still means you are still susceptible to the likes of Mirror Force, Depress, and etc. So, in your opinions, guys, what is the best way to play Leeching the Light?
I'm not sure about the best way, but it's a brilliant card to use against agents. I mean, it's worth using against light swans as well, but against agents, it's really good. It helps get round to Hyperion and freaking Christia. I mean, sure, Christia will go back to the top of the deck, but at least you can still get rid of her and special summon again. I side deck 2 copies because I didn't realise how good it was until agents became really popular. So yeah, I recommend it.
So Luke, how do you think is the best way to play it?
Well, Leeching the Light, good card. Beginning of the format when agents were really popular and they were seeing a lot of play against plants, you sided at the 2 thanks to Billy Break's initiative on that one. I would say, again, it's a good card. Obviously, you make a big push against big bosses like Hyperion and BLS, and I think still nowadays you still side deck at least one, because agents are still a popular deck. Hyperion is pretty boss, but right now you probably want to focus on concentrating sectors and wind ups, because they're quite a high speed deck. Deck type, should I say?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good card. I definitely would recommend it against light storms and agents. And yeah, I mean, not much to see really, apart from yeah, it's just a good card.
Okay. Well, that's the opinion from 2 very skilled duelists, in my opinion, on Leeching the Light. Now we're going to move on to Meister, which was brought to my attention by Dear Silent Enigma. It's a level 4 Dark Fiend monster with 1700 attack, so it clashes with Tengu. Still pretty decent enough attack to just normal summon it anyway. It's got 400 defense, which is really poor, but then again, you don't really want to put this card in defense mode. You even want to send it from your hand to the graveyard via his effect, or you want to summon him for a bit of beatdown. Now, his effect reads, during either player's turn, when a card effect is activated in your opponent's graveyard, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to negate the effect. Now, in my opinion, that's a brilliant card against the new archetype of Insectors, because of the fact that they can abuse effects in the graveyard. Although they do have effects on the field like Dragonfly, their Hornet still needs to be sent to the graveyard in order to kick off its effect. So if you go drop the Meister, it will nullify that effect, but it won't stop the effect on the field of Dragonfly. So they'll still get the special summon, but they won't get to pop something. So it's kind of like a half win. you've beaten one aspect, but you've still got the other aspect to deal with. It's a brilliant card for setting up your graveyard if you're running a light-based deck. You can tech in Skullmeisters if you know you're going to have to get some decks that can abuse graveyard effects, and just send them to the graveyard, because if you've got a deck full of dark light monsters, and you just added in things like Gores, Trag, and a couple of Skullmeisters, it can set up your graveyard for BLS plays, Chaos Sorcerer plays, etc. And as everyone knows, Chaos is the biggest thing since sliced bread, and really BLS is the boss monster of any format it's in. So, what's your opinions, Richie, on Skullmeister?
It's just a really nice card, and the artwork is pretty sick as well. I mean, if you're lucky enough to have it, I guess it's worth using against certain decks that are gonna cause your decks a whole heap of problems.
Yeah, because it works against things like X-Saber Dark Soul, Mystic Tomato, it works against Goblin Zombie and Mizuki and things like that. They all still have to pay their costs, but I just think it's a really versatile card, especially now that you got Insectors. And after the ruling that Luke told us earlier, if you DD Crow their target in the graveyard, apparently now you can still equip one from your hand.
Yeah, I still don't get how that works, but fair enough.
What's that, sorry?
Your ruling that you told us about, apparently if you DD Crow the Insector in the graveyard that would equip to a monster, they can still equip one from their hand.
Yeah, basically, let me just get on it. Basically, the effect doesn't target. Because it says on each Insector, once per turn you can equip one Insector monster from your hand or graveyard to this card. So basically, because it's not targeting a specific area, it has the OR option.
Yeah.
It's not targeting. So essentially, if the effect of Dragonfly activates, you have a Hornet in the graveyard. You can essentially go in effect the Dragonfly, and then obviously a DD Crow. If they're doing it from grave, DD Crow to Hornet. You still fulfill the effect. You still have to fulfill the effect to equip an Insector. So since you've still got one in your hand, you can still fulfill that requirement.
Aha. So, do you think Skullmeister might be a good option so that when they target their Hornet in the graveyard, you can use Skullmeister when it's sent to the graveyard to stop them popping off a card?
Well, no, I mean, essentially, Hornet activates on the field because you activate to launch it to the graveyard to use the effect. So essentially, the effect's activating on the field.
Really? I thought it activated in the graveyard.
No, because you activate basically when there's you can send this equipped card to the graveyard to target one card on the field and destroy it. So essentially, it's still on the field when it's activating its first effect.
Ah, I see.
But what the good thing is as well, bit of a little trick here for you, a bit of advanced rulings. X-Saber Dark Souls effect now rules as when it hits the graveyard, the player responsible for that Dark Soul has to activate the effect at that time.
Yes.
Otherwise, they can't get the search. But this is good in your favour because when they activate Dark Soul, you then chain Skullmeister, and the effect fizzles out, so they don't get a search. It's the same with like Emma's Blade, Mystic Tomato, TG Tech Gems monsters, and just usual shenanigans like that, really. You know. So.
Yeah. Now, Wind Up Hunter, correct me if I'm wrong, activates in the graveyard. Could you not use Skullmeister against that as well to stop the Wind Up loop?
No. Wind Up Hunter is to tribute one monster on your field, one other Wind Up monster from your field to the graveyard. It's a effect that activates on the field. If it was Wind Up Honeybee, then yes. And what's also good is the effects of Mizuki and Nekogana, because banishing them is the cost.
Yes.
You change Skullmeister, the effects don't go off.
Yeah. Well, there you go. We just cleared up a few little cleared up a few little common misconceptions there, because I don't pretend to know everything, neither do these guys. But it's always nice to get a group of friends to discuss some rulings, just so you can clarify what you playing and side decking your side deck actually works against what you think it works against, rather than causing an argument in the middle of a tournament, using up valuable time in which could be used to score life point advantage against your opponent to win the game.
Yeah, because basically, if one ruling versus another and an eventual outcome, then obviously it messes up gameplay or game state in the actual match. And then there's arguments, and obviously it's always good to have a player briefing before a tournament. And if there's any ruling updates, even if it's just minor ones, the players should always be clarified straight away, because obviously that affects on how the games are played out in events.
Most definitely. And that is what I hope to provide in these Tech for Talk Tuesdays. It provides you little cards that you may not have thought as a card to use in your side deck or even attacking your main deck, that you can use and clarify the rulings up upon it so that you can catch your opponent off guard and hopefully give you that bit of extra advantage. So, any other thoughts on these two cards, Leeching Light and Skullmeister, guys?
Can't really think of anything else to say, although, except for a secret rare, it seems to be quite cheap, because the three of us were looking on eBay earlier. One you two were, and it went for £6, I believe.
Yeah, but it's going between £6 to £10, but it depends on the seller. There is quite a differential between the sellers and prices.
Yeah. So, there you have it. Skullmeister and Leeching the Light, explained by a group of friends that hope to provide the Yu-Gi-Oh community with a more in-depth knowledge about the game so as to progress the game even further, because there's nothing worse than someone who doesn't know the rulings on their own cards. Okay, I think that's all we've got time for. I've been Neo Nextus, joined by Dark Magician 84 and Darkness L 1989, and we shall bid you adieu. See you all next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Laters.